In this video, we're going to talk about creating your triangle shapes, which are just basically the foundation for creating any kind of angle on your tapestry and approaching imagery making in general. It's a very important and very basic technique to learn. So this is going to be applied anytime that you have a shape that incorporates a line that is at an angle. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to do two different triangles, one with a shallower angle and one with a steeper angle, so that you can get the idea of how to control that slope. So the first one will be the shallow one, and you'll take one of your colors and run it all the way across your weaving. And back. And now we're going to go again across the weaving, but we're going to stop one warp thread before the edge and come back. We're going to just keep doing that, or we're going to come across and stop now 2 warp threads before the end. And just continue this all the way until you get to the final warp thread on the opposite side. All right, so I've completed that whole row, and now I'm going to pick up my white and come in this opposite side, and I'm basically just repeating this but in reverse. So I'm going from wrapping around 1 warp, then to 2, and I want to make sure, so I'm actually gonna bring this, you can be a little loosey-goosey sometimes because I want to keep this from hanging off the edge, so I'm actually gonna bring it to that second string and just leave it there and come back and up to number 3. Then 4, and keep going all the way down. All right, so there it is. We've got these 2 split right angle triangles. So you can see how you can create this angled line and then how to fill in that shape once you've created it. And you can see here, you can get a feel for how to create the angle that you want. Like, you can see that this is actually quite a shallow angle to just pass on each warp thread once. So the next time that we go, I'm gonna take another green thread, and I'm basically just gonna do what I just did, but I'm gonna pass over twice on each warp end before decreasing. So I passed once, and now I'm passing second time, going all the way to the end. And now decreasing to end one before the last warp. And going back again to end in that same spot one more time. And so you can see this is how you vary an angle. So you could do that infinitely, right? Like, you could stack 10 rows before moving over and create a very, very steep angle. And you can also vary the amount that you stack within the angle in order to create a curve. Say that you could stack more and then decrease how much you stack to create a curve that way. And you'll see that later. The next thing that we're going to do is going to be creating a circle. So that will cover how to do that. But yeah, so we're just going to do this all the way to the end, and then finish it off the same way with the white, doing the same thing in reverse. So again, I'm going to be stacking on every string. I'm going to stack twice now, because that's what I did with the green, so I have to counteract it and fill in those gaps. And now that I've finished this triangle and I have a good amount of white left from the end of this one, I'm actually just gonna carry it up, and it will have, it'll be carried in the back, but it's such a short amount that to me it really doesn't bother me or make a difference. It'll lay flat on the tapestry, so I'm just gonna pull it up and continue that way. In general, just the less strings you have, the less ends you have, the better. Really, these pieces that I've been working with are shorter than ideal. They're just cut-offs that I had, so I wanted to get rid of them. But they are, in general, I'd like to work with something a little longer so that I don't end up with as many ends. But at the end of the day, in tapestry, ends are inevitable. You'll use so many different small pieces of yarn as you weave your tapestries, so don't think too much about it. And I'm just weaving again 2 on every warp thread before moving up. And you might notice, depending on your yarn, that they're not perfectly matching up in height, and that's just because the thickness of the yarn may not be exactly the same. depending on, you know, if they're really different, that's kind of a problem, and you may actually want to double up your yarn like this and weave it through. But like with these, there's a very slight difference. It's not even visually perceptible, but the white is just a little thinner. But if I see that it's really sinking on one end, I might even, you know, say, like, sometimes the edges tend to sink. You can kind of see that here. So I can even weave a little extra on the end just to give it a little more height and even it out with the piece. And that won't visually show as anything strange. It'll blend in really nicely. Oh, I'm supposed to go on over there. And now that my piece is ending, like I've been saying, I don't want to leave anything on the edge. So I would rather weave it to the middle and leave it hanging there rather than deal with having to do an extra tuck around the edge like I've been showing you. So I'm just gonna leave it, you know, I can even leave it, I don't even have to leave it at the end of that white shape. I could leave it just right dead in the middle. Sometimes that's actually the cleanest way to do that. And then just pick up the next string and weave it through right where this one would have come up. So it would have come up right there. So I'm just gonna pull it through like that. Leave a few inches on the end and keep weaving. And, you know, also, if I don't think this would be completely necessary, but just for the sake of showing you what's possible, you know, if I'm feeling like because my white is a little smaller than my green, that it's kind of struggling to keep up, even not just on the edge, but here too, I can add another pass to bulk it up. You know, you don't have to stick super strictly to this math and the counting all the time. Sometimes it's by feel. But I'm actually not going to do it right here because I think that it would do more harm than good to my angle. I think that it would show a little bump just because it's not actually what is needed right now. It also, this is kind of a good thing to look at too. Sometimes it can feel like something is uneven or that this is not working at the same height as the other stuff, but a lot of times that can be just an issue of there being a lot of air in the yarn because it's not packed down yet. So that's something that you'll notice. Like, you can see just in the process of weaving this triangle how the angle has changed. So, and that's something important to consider both for when you're thinking about things like this, trying to keep these yarns even, but also when you're thinking about following a shape that you already have, and you want to make sure you keep that shape how you want it. Consider that everything is getting packed down and squished all the time. So the work that you have at the top is going to be compressed. So you're going to have to build it a little higher than you think that you need. And you'll see that really clearly when we work with the circle. Alright, and those are your basic angled shapes.